Hi, I'm Sean, and I'm a gold 5, like mostly jungle, fill, whatever the fuck is OP kind of main. And with that, I want to explain the whole solo queue versus dynamic queue problem that has come out with the release of the fact that solo queue is not coming back. It's dead, it's no longer here. Before I get into any of that, I want to explain that this video itself will not be monetized because I, as a small YouTuber and as just personality, do not want to be someone who jumps on the drama train. I am generally going to avoid drama if this YouTube ever becomes a career for me. I generally want to avoid it. I'm not someone who's a big fan of most drama. I am apathetic to most things. That being said, this feels important to me, so I want to explain my opinions and my views on it. Dynamic queue fell short. We all know that. Whether or not you had any kind of build-up or any expectations of dynamic queue, or if you were a team, what was it called? Team builder fan, then it fell short. That being said, it's not this utter failure people are going on about. It's made it a very, very specific type of game. You have these people who are claiming they've never played League of Legends before, or they're never playing League of Legends again, or they're never spending another dollar on League of Legends. That is fine. That is their choice, that is their prerogative, that is their opinion. But Dynamic Queue initially was to make all those players who were originally calling out for a ranked team builder with draft pick, the idea of, well, if I can get mid 50 games that are in a row, I will always carry. It's like, okay, fine. We'll give you mid. We'll give you mid and top, the two roles you always carry from. Shouldn't you be happy that even though with longer queue times, you're still getting into your mid and your top? Okay, fine, you're taking your mid and your top, and you're not carrying all of a sudden. Turns out you're not as good as the game as you thought you were, because if you look at the people who are professional players or just challenger, even high elo players of any sort, then they're still carrying, they're still getting there because they know, like, they understand what they need to do in games to win. And the idea of solo queue, or I guess dynamic queue, removing all individual skill of this game is ridiculous. If you want to see someone hard carry four people through any game, or 90% of games, go watch Dakar's YouTube channel. I know his name's just look up Dakar the Riven. And, like, recently, it's disgusting. He just stomps people. So, if you think you can't carry, like, either learn to play Riven or watch how that guy plays, because he 1v5 carries so many games. His team is doing awfully, and he just makes them win. And it's not even he's in voice comms with him half the time. He just knows exactly what he needs to do to win. So the idea that individual skill is being trumped by team skill in a dynamic queue is maybe at a very high echelon of play, but in average elo that most people are at, so silver or bronze to gold, then probably not. The biggest problem I've found with dynamic queue is the idea of shorter queues. Like, shorter queue times hasn't happened, but the extra 5 or 6 minutes I have to wait to get a role that I want to play is amazing for me. Especially because I do play at non-peak hours mostly. I play after midnight Eastern time, so I play between like midnight and 8 a.m. a lot of the times. So that being said, I'm playing at non-peak, and I feel like I get average 5 to 10 minute queues. And that's either whether or not I'm playing solo or duo with my girlfriend, Aurora, who's the other side of this YouTube channel. So the queue times, at least in low elo, and this is non-ranked if anyone's curious, this is just draft pick, the queue times aren't as bad, and we don't feel like we're going against people who are 5-man pre-mades. I've gone against people who are better than me and definitely stomped me, but I don't feel as if I'm just getting these like raped scripting games. And when I did level up from silver to gold this season in the beginning to get to gold 5 to get that free skin on my account, I didn't really like, there was no game I felt that was unwinnable because they were pre-mades or they were scripters or they were boosters. It was just like, I fucked up and that's what happened, or my team fucked up we fucked up as a team. I've mostly played solo queue, but a couple of games I played with duos and like people I met and just like, hey, yeah, we'll play a couple of games to break up the monotony. The thing about like the idea of with dynamic queue is that it's just not as bad as everyone's making it out to be. It's not great, by no means, but the idea that it's just infinitely worse than solo queue, when you had in solo queue, you had to babysit so many players. You know, like, I had a Malphite one game. I remember this game, even though it was years ago. It was in Season 4. I had a Malphite who I came to gank. He's a Malphite. Scales really well. He was versus a Renekton, I think it was. Was it Renekton? Yeah, it was a Renekton. Who's not the... Like, Renekton is strong. The gank failed. We did not kill him, but the gank failed. He was pissed because the gank didn't work, and he had used his flash. It was 4 minutes in. He decided it was GG, and actively spent every minute of the game trying to make my life as difficult as possible. It bothered him, and I know this because he typed how annoyed he was that he wasn't getting a rise out of me, that I was not upset or bothered by what he was doing. Like, if you're that easily offset by a single individual play, then there's nothing I can do, because something like that's going to happen and you're going to be upset. Like, it didn't matter if it was 4 minutes in or 30 minutes in. Better that I know in the beginning, because then I can just write you off as a player. The idea that dynamic queue is less toxic is more and less true. At this point in dynamic queue, I feel like I'm getting more toxic enemies than I get allies. They're like, oh, well, you took such and such, and you're actually, earlier today, I had a guy get pissed because our Caitlyn was diamond. I was not duoed with them. Just the Caitlyn was playing a random game with his, I presume the Morgana was their, because they were doing things like they were duoed. And the Caitlyn did really well and like hard carried the game just by like, she took her tower, she destomped bot lane, took her tower bot lane, came mid, took my tower, came top, took their tower, and then just continually sieged every lane until she just destroyed everything. And we just kind of follow and assisted her. We weren't doing very bad as a team, we weren't doing great. It was even until the fact that she just came in and took every tower in the game pretty quickly. And the enemy top laner was like, you're a piece of shit. You play, like, you guys are happy because you won. No, I'm happy because I had fun with the game, and there were still some fights that were fun, and I got to play a champion I had not played very much, which was Ezreal. I played him AD mid just for some fun. And I didn't feed my ass off, so I was happy with that, and I did a few things late game. That being said, like, again, an example of individual skill carrying a game and decisions. Like, everyone's got this idea that dynamic queue has taken away all individual skill, and that's just so not true. It's hilarious. Also, the idea that, like, everyone's just, I don't even, like, just the way people are explaining how they're upset about dynamic queue is humorous to me. They want solo queue back or nothing. But Riot is not going to revert to dynamic queue, or to solo queue, because in 90% of business, it is a terrible sense to revert a business decision, especially when people are clamoring for it. Because when you, like, anyone who's ever given that mid or feed person mid, and they didn't do well, or they fed anyway, and you tried asking them, like, hey man, I thought you were going to carry mid, they'll be super pissed at you. I mean, you already gave up your morals, or your standings, or your convictions to give them mid. Didn't matter that you were first pick and you were going to go mid, you just didn't want them to rage, right? Well, Riot's like, our community is raging, and just raging at them. Riot, unless they lose a huge amount of money, we're talking, I mean, Riot's a $1 billion company. None of us have any inkling how much money they would need to lose to revert to solo queue, and I don't think we could actively do it because of the amount of new accounts they get, and people who just don't pay attention to internet politics, and, you know, 12-year-old gamers who just want to play the game. Which I don't have a problem with anyone who wants to do that. Like, if you just want to play the game and ignore all the politics, good on you, I'm impressed. But people don't, like, they're not going to revert, because the minute they do that, it's going to be like, oh, well, we also don't like Nasus. Kick Nasus out of the game. Oh, you're not going to take out Nasus? We're just going to bitch and moan on Reddit until you do it. Oh, well, now that you've taken out Nasus, we also don't like, we also think Azir shouldn't be in the game. Kick Azir out. Kick out Riven. We don't like Foxdrop. As a community, ban all his accounts. You know, doesn't matter that Foxdrop's done nothing wrong. That's how things like that get built up. Like, people don't realize that, like, the power they have control, but also the power that a community, like, needs to respect in itself. Maybe we could get Riot at one point to have reverted to solo queue, but no longer it's an option. At this point, it's, like, aggressive negotiations with each other. We need to try to find a standpoint sorry about that. We need to try to find a standpoint to sit and talk with each other to equal it all out. Those are just my thoughts, though. Let me know what your thoughts, if anything else is, in the comments below. I will respond to any civil comments I see. And if anyone has an ability to kind of make this get more attention, I'd love that. Not even for my channel. I'm not asking for any subs or anything like that, but just for to kind of get the community thinking more critically. That'd be amazing. If you leave a troll comment or tell me I suck or any other thing, I'm just going to disregard it because, again, apathetic. Don't care. Really don't. So it'll be really exciting to me to see what kind of civil discussion we can build up. But that's all. Hope you guys had fun. See ya.